You see, the person who is spiritually awake isn't seeing something that doesn't exist. They haven't found some hidden secret realm that ordinary folk can't reach. No, not at all. What they see is precisely what's right there, under everyone's nose. The difference is, they see it without the filters, without the commentary, without the endless chatter and interference of what we name the ego. Let me explain it this way. Picture a tree. Now, most of us don't really look at the tree itself. We look at the word tree. We look at our idea of treeness. We think, ah, yes, a tree. I know trees. Maple, oak, good for wood, offers nice shade, makes oxygen. And in doing so, we've entirely missed the actual tree. We've traded the menu for the actual meal, the map for the real land. The awake person looks at that same tree and perceives it directly, with no verbal noise getting in the way. They see its sheer suchness, its isness, the amazing, detailed dance of light, shadow, and shape unfolding right there. And suddenly, that tree is the most magnificent thing in the cosmos. They aren't seeing something extra. They are seeing what's actually there once you take away the extra stuff, the layers added by the thinking mind. And this is where things get truly interesting. Most people are walking around in a kind of daze. They've been hypnotized by words, by concepts, by their own incessant thoughts. They honestly believe that their thoughts about reality are reality itself. It's as if someone spent their entire life viewing photos of the ocean and thought they understood what the ocean was like. Then, one day, they walk onto the beach, step into the water, and the waves crash over them, and they exclaim, "My goodness, this is nothing like the pictures." That's what awakening is. It's the difference between the photograph and the real, lived experience. The funny thing is, everyone has had glimpses of this. Everyone has had those moments where the world suddenly becomes intensely vivid, alive, and utterly immediate. Maybe it happened in times of great danger, or deep beauty, or powerful love. In those moments, the thinking stops, and there is only this extraordinary presence of reality. Children experience this naturally. Watch a child exploring a puddle or a butterfly or even their own hands. They are totally absorbed, completely present. They haven't yet learned to swap concepts for direct experience. But then we educate them. We civilize them. We teach them to live inside their heads, to dwell in the past and the future, to live anywhere but the here and now. And little by little, that direct way of seeing fades away, and they join the rest of us in this great collective trance. The spiritually awake person has, somehow, broken free of this trance. Perhaps through meditation, maybe through some intense crisis or sudden shock, or perhaps via deep philosophical questioning. The how doesn't truly matter. What does matter is that they've realized the way they were taught to experience reality is just one way, and certainly not the most accurate one. They've found out that their thoughts about things are not the things themselves. And here's something that often confuses people. The awakened person perceives that there is no separate self in the way we usually imagine it. Now, I'm not claiming they don't exist, or that you don't exist. What I'm saying is that this feeling we have of being a separate ego trapped inside this bag of skin, completely cut off from the rest of the universe, that feeling is an invention. A very compelling invention, mind you, but an invention nonetheless. We've been taught to identify with this small voice in our heads, this internal narrator that's perpetually judging everything. I like this. I don't like that. I'm anxious about this. I hope for that. And we mistakenly believe that little voice is us, but the awake person has come to realize they are not that voice. The voice is simply something that happens within their awareness, but it isn't what they fundamentally are. Think about it. You can be aware of your thoughts. You can watch them appear and dissolve. So, if you can observe your thoughts, you cannot be your thoughts, can you? The thing that observes is always different from the thing that is observed. The awakened person has discovered that they are the awareness in which everything arises. Thoughts, emotions, body sensations, the entire visible world. They aren't a thing inside the universe. They are the consciousness in which the universe shows up. Now, this is not some kind of inflated fantasy. It's not about thinking you're God in some boastful way. It's the exact opposite. It's the dissolving of the ego, the realization that your true nature is far more basic and vast than this small character you've been playing. This role with its specific name, history, and goals. The awakened person sees right through what I call the skin-encapsulated ego. They realize that the dividing line between inside and outside, between self and other, is conventional. A helpful tool, but not absolute. When you inhale, the air becomes you. When you exhale, you become the air. When you consume an apple, the apple becomes you. Where exactly do you end and the world begin? The boundary is arbitrary. We draw it there for ease of use. But nature doesn't respect that line. And when you genuinely see this, when it sinks into your bones, not just as a clever theory, but as a direct perception, everything in your life shifts. You realize you're not an outsider in the cosmos. You're not some cosmic fluke, some tiny burst of consciousness that just happened to get lost in a cold, unfeeling, mechanical universe. No, you are a perfect expression of the whole thing, just like a wave is an expression of the ocean. This leads us to another key insight that spiritually awake people have: the oneness of all things. Not oneness in some vague, hazy, mystical sense, but the actual, literal truth that everything is interconnected, that everything arises together. You cannot have up without down. You cannot have inside without outside. You cannot have self without other. You cannot have life without death. These things don't exist as separate objects that later form a bond. They are simply aspects of a single unified process. Most people view the world as a collection of separate items that occasionally bump into each other. They see themselves as one thing and everything else as other things. But the awake person sees this is like saying the crest of a wave is separate from the trough. They are different phases of a single motion, a single wave. Likewise, all the seemingly separate things in the universe are different facets of one happening, one massive cosmic event. And this completely transforms how you live. When you see that you are not separate from the world, you cannot help but treat it differently. To harm others becomes like cutting off your own hand. It's obviously not in your best interest, because they are not truly other in the way you used to think. This isn't a morality code forced upon you from outside. It's simply intelligent self-interest, once you truly understand what yourself actually is. Another thing the awake person perceives is the profound intelligence of nature, the intelligence that is the universe itself. We've been taught to think that consciousness is something rare, something that only exists in human brains, and perhaps animal brains. Everything else is assumed to be dead, mechanical, unconscious. But this is a very odd idea if you stop to consider it. How could conscious beings possibly have emerged from a non-conscious universe? How could intelligence have arisen from pure stupidity? It makes no sense. It's like suggesting you can get water from a desert stone or fruit from a concrete wall. The awake person realizes that consciousness must be fundamental to the universe, not something that appeared as an afterthought. The universe must be intelligent in its core nature, or intelligence could never have surfaced within it. Just look at your own body. You don't consciously tell your heart to beat, or your food to digest, or your immune system to fight sickness, or your hair to grow. All of that happens spontaneously, intelligently, without any effort on your part. That same intelligence, the one that makes grass grow from the earth and turns caterpillars into butterflies, that intelligence is what's making your heart beat right now. You're not doing it. It is doing you. The awakened person sees that they are not in control of their life in the way they imagined. The ego doesn't actually do anything. Thoughts arise on their own. Actions simply happen. The feeling of being a controller, a separate agent making all the decisions, that's just another thought arising within the stream of awareness. In reality, you are being lived by the universe, just as a wave is being waved by the ocean. Now, this can sound scary at first. People think, if I'm not in charge, then what? Am I just a puppet? Do I have no free will? But this is still the mind thinking in terms of separation. Me versus the universe. What the awake person realizes is that the controller and the controlled are one. The universe isn't making you do anything. You are what the universe is doing at this specific point in space and time. When you grasp this, there's an immense sense of relief, a tremendous letting go. All that anxiety about whether you're making the right choice, following the right path, living your life correctly, it all dissolves. You realize you can't make a mistake, because you are not separate from the overall process. You can't do anything other than what you do, because you are not separate from the power that is doing it. This doesn't make you passive or irresponsible. It makes you spontaneous, natural, and free. The spiritually awake person also sees through the illusion of time in a very profound sense. We think of time as a river that flows from the past into the future, and we feel we are being carried along in it. But in truth, there is only the present moment. The past is a memory existing now. The future is an anticipation existing now. Both exist only as thoughts happening in the present. The awake person lives totally in the present moment because they see that this is the only place life ever truly happens. Most people are never actually where they are. They're perpetually in their heads, lost in memories of yesterday or worries about tomorrow. They're thinking about what they should be doing, what they should have done, what might happen next. And while this is going on, life is happening now, and they are completely missing it. They're missing the sheer wonder of this very moment. This breath, this sound, this sight. The awake person has, somehow, found their way back to the here and now. They've realized that this moment is all there is, and it is utterly sufficient. In fact, it's perfect exactly as it is. This doesn't mean they never plan for the future or learn from the past, but they don't mistake those mental activities for reality. Reality is always now. And when you truly settle into this present moment, something extraordinary occurs. The mind quiets down. The endless stream of internal commentary stops, or at least fades into the background, and all that remains is this simple awareness, this open, spacious consciousness in which everything is making its appearance. And you realize that this awareness, this consciousness, is what you really are. It has been here all along, but you've been so busy thinking about things that you never quite noticed it. This awareness is incredibly simple, utterly ordinary, and yet it is the most profound thing in the universe. It is the light in which everything appears. Without it, there would be no world, no experience, no anything. And it is what you are, not as an object or a thing, but as pure subjectivity, pure presence, pure being. The spiritually awake person rests in this awareness. They identify not with the fleeting show of thoughts, feelings, and sensations, but with the awareness in which all of that appears. And from this vantage point, everything looks different. Problems don't vanish, but they lose their power to distress. Pain is still felt, but there is no suffering added to it by fighting it or complaining. Joy is experienced more completely, because there is no lurking fear of it disappearing. Life becomes like a game, a cosmic dance, a kind of play. Not in the sense of not taking it seriously, but in the sense of not taking yourself too seriously. You realize you are inhabiting a role, a character, but you are not restricted to that role. You can be fully in the world, engaging completely, and yet not be of it, not be trapped by it. This is what the spiritually awake person sees. They see reality directly without the filter of concepts. They see the unity of all things. They see that consciousness is fundamental. They see that there is no separate self. They see that all there is now. And they see that what they truly are is the awareness in which all of this appears. And the beautiful, challenging, wonderful truth is that I can tell you all of this. But it will not benefit you in the least unless you see it for yourself. These are just more words, more ideas, more items listed on the menu. The real feast is available right now in this very moment, if you would only stop reading the menu and start eating. Look at what is actually here. Listen to what is actually sounding. Feel what is actually present. And in that direct contact with reality, you may just discover what the spiritually awake already know. That you are that reality, looking at itself through these particular eyes.